Good afternoon, everyone. I suggest we get started. Welcome to this project webinar. Glad to have you here. Today we'll be discussing our latest updates and how you can use them for maximum results. My name is Tabata. I'm a product specialist at Qualifio, and next to me is Olivier. Hi, Olivier.
Thanks, Tabata. I'm Olivier. I'm the head of product here at Qualifio.
So before we get started today, I would like to go over a few logistic items. So this webinar is recorded. It will be available on demand after the end. Now, if you have questions during the webinar, please type them into the Q&A box on your screen. You may send your questions at any time. We can either collect them and address them live or during the Q&A session at the end. And finally, please note that we will put up some questions on your screen throughout the presentation. So it will be a couple of polls for us to get a sense of your feedback on a couple of things. So before we formally start our program, these are the different topics for today. So we will have a recap of the most recent developments in the platform, including the tag library and the advanced formats. We are also presenting a sneak peek into the future of Qualifio, and you will get access to all the materials you need for more information and support. And finally, we will also conduct a short Q&A at the end of the session. Now let's begin, and we will start with a recap of the new features and with Olivier, who will be speaking on the tag library.
Yes, thanks. So the first feature we want to talk to you about is the tag library. So this feature was launched just after the summer, and it has been designed really with several key things in mind. The first one being security. So before the arrival of this feature, it was possible to put any tag, and we are talking here about for instance, the Google Analytics tags, the Google Tag Manager, the Facebook Pixel, any of these scripts or tags that you can implement in your campaign, of course, with a possibility, an ID to have a better reporting, better analytics and remarketing afterwards. But it was possible to put basically any tag anywhere in your campaign. And that led, of course, to some potential issue, meaning that any of your user was able to add some either malicious tag or maybe have a human mistake within the copy pasting of this tag, for instance, in your campaign, and having thus incomplete data at the end of the day. So with this in mind, we designed this new feature which really strengthened the control that you can have on your tag and the consistency over it. So we will see they are all in one centralized interface, which can be used by admin users so that they can decide which tags are actually available to their users and which, well, if they are not available, basically they won't be able to be used. Of course, we also wanted to be able to reuse more the tags than what is done today or before this feature, meaning that before we were able to basically copy paste anywhere in all the campaigns one specific Google Tag Manager tag. If you decided for any reason to change the ID, then you would have to go through all campaigns to change that. Of course, that's not very easy of use. So we really want to be able to have a small number of tags that are usable, which can be used in several campaigns, templates, mini sites, websites, etc. So let's get going directly to the demo here. So you go into Qualifio Manager. I think this is an interface you all know quite well. And what we see today is if you go into a campaign, for instance, in the tags section, you will see this provided you have not migrated to the new system yet. So you see a zone where you were able to type or copy paste any tag or anything within the campaign. Now, what we have introduced as feature is the tag library. As I said, it's to be found in the settings as it's for admin users to manage. tag library just next to GDPR toolbox, and it's divided in two main concepts: the tags and the variables for the tags. I will come back to the variable in a minute. So about the tags, the first thing that you need to do as a user, if you have not done it yet, is to import the existing tags. So we know that you already have a lot of campaigns running, a lot of them with tags, with your tags implemented. And of course, it was not a possibility for us to tell you, okay, from tomorrow on, we are removing all the tags that you have in your campaign and you need to start from fresh, because that was just not a good way forward. So what you have to go through here is an import of all the existing tags, so that when you have done that, basically nothing changes. Nothing changes in your campaign. It's just running as it was yesterday, as it was 2 minutes before. But from that moment forward, you can start using the new feature. So you will be asked to click the import. We explain exactly where we import the tags from. And after a couple of seconds, a bit more if you have more campaigns, of course, you will have this green banner saying that the tags have been imported. I'm here in a relatively small account, so I have just 2 tags visible, and I'm showing them in here. And what are those tags? So we are in an imported tags, and this is the tag we exactly saw just before in the campaign. Now, there are 2 possibilities. Either I want to start completely fresh. I will not be using these imported tags, so I will create new ones. Or I want to start from these imported tags and say, okay, from this moment on, this is the tag I would like to use. Here it's this is a specific event that we are sending to Google Tag Manager for when you hit the participate button. So I'm going to be using this tag. I click to continue. I'm going to name it participate button GTM, for instance, and I am saving it. Now it has become an actually active tag, and I will remove this little banner now, an active tag which will be usable in all your future campaign. Same goes with the other one. This is a standard Google Tag Manager tag here. And one of the new features is the possibility to put part of the tag in the head or in the body of the campaigns. I think if you've been familiar or you working with Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Facebook Pixel, you know that their recommendation is to put part of the text in the head, another part in the body. This is basically what we propose here as feature. I'm naming it again so I can find it back. Sorry. Now I have created my 2 tags, but actually what we suggest doing is using variables, especially if you have several numbers of websites of brands which are using Qualifio. So what are these variables? It will be a concept to replace and to adjust dynamically in here the ID of one specific tag. So if I go to the tag variable here, I'm going to be able to create a new variable. It's going to be my GTM ID. And either I can put a default value for most of my website, maybe not all of them, or put a specific value per website. In this case, I have just the one website, but I could set different values so that depending on the context of the campaign, there will be automatically the right GTM tag which will be added. So here I can add 3, 4, 5, whatever. That's not really important, but I add this new variable. So now for all the tags, what I want to do in the GTM tag, I want to replace the hard-coded ID of the tag by the variable which I just created. So we can see here GTM ID readable, and of course it should be placed at all the different places in the tag. So it's at 2 places here in this case. And now when I'm going to be in my campaigns, so here for instance, still in the tags, what do I have? I don't have this writing zone where I could put anything. I have the selection of the possible tags here. So if I look at the GTM tag which I just added, we'll see it's exactly that one with the ID, and it will be automatically replaced within the context of the campaign. So it can be added at this level, the campaign level, of course, as before, at the website level, or at the mini site template, etc. level. So that's about it here for within the manager. So I'm going back here just to give you a couple more advice on using the tag library.
Yes, but before we go there, we have a first polling questions for you. Just to get a sense of how many of you might already have migrated to the tag library, or if you are maybe planning on it. Yeah, so we leave the poll open for like a minute so that we give everyone a chance to answer.
Right, so we have a couple of customers who already did, other who are not sure yet when to do it. Maybe a suggestion which I can make is that so far we have not defined an exact date for when we will ask and force all our customers to migrate. Yet that's something that we will decide in the course of the next year. So our suggestion is really to, well, take your time, take your pace, but work on moving to this new feature, which is really adding an additional layer of security and yet still flexibility here in the campaign. All right. A couple of tips for using still the tag library. First one is, of course, make sure that you have the right level of consent. It goes a bit without saying today, but of course, this is very, very important. Whether the consent is actually used within your tag manager, which is our suggestion to work with your own tag manager so that you make sure that you own everything on your end, on the tag manager end, and yet that you have a seamless experience for Qualifio campaigns, for your website, and for any other place you would use your tag manager. And then what we suggest is to place that tag manager and manager consent from the parent page. So you have the possibility in Qualifio to use either a mini site or an iframe. In both cases, it's an iframe which is embedded, well, in the mini site or in your page. What we suggest is putting the tag manager at the mini site or at your website level and send event from the iframe to know that the participate button has been pushed, the identification form has been submitted, a specific opt-in has been submitted. So you can be super flexible and super powerful in the way you are tracking, but still you are keeping the control on your end. Furthermore, doing that, you will avoid problems such as cross-domain tracking, having the consent banner, which would be displayed at the iframe plus the parent page level. So these kind of problems would be avoided. And last tip here, we have added in the tag library the view on how many times a specific tag has been used. So in the idea of taking control and ownership of all these tags and a view on where they are being used, you have in each tag the possibility to see where they are actually being used and whether, of course, it's still relevant to keep them, maybe to clean them here. And I think, yeah, it's a little arrow. And I think that was about it, but there was a question by Eric on the tag library, who was wondering if the tag library also work in NoScript. So yes, it is possible to add some NoScript into the body of the tag, which is actually what I did in the tag here in the GTM tag. So no problem, you can do that. And of course, if that's not, you're not achieving what you are willing to achieve, please feel free to send a ticket to Sydney, Noemi, and well, Laurent as backup. I'm sure you've been in contact with him already on this topic. All right. So after the tag library, we're coming to another very big, very important feature, which we have worked very hard in the last few months on, and we believe it's one that is providing a lot of value to you, which is called the advanced format. And the first question that we have actually is
for you,
for you, of course, is, well, have you heard of these advanced format feature we have launched a couple of weeks ago? Have you been using it yet, or have you been successful with it yet, with the formats? Thank you for those who are answering. I see there are quite several of you who are not really familiar with what it is, some who have heard of it, and a couple who are a bit more, but not so many. All right, well, Tab, what is it exactly?
Okay, so the advanced formats are actually a new series of campaign types, but they are a bit more advanced because they are a bit different from what you would usually see in Qualifio campaigns. So we're really touching on gaming formats. So we have the catcher game that you see on the left. The catcher game you might have already heard of. It was previously only available via our studio services, but today it's possible to create your catcher game in the Qualifio platform directly. So the idea, as you can see, is that you have a catcher. So it's like it could be a bin, it could be something else, with which the participant needs to catch items that are falling from the top of the screen. The second new advanced format is a penalty game. So as you can see, it's a football, it's a shootout game. The participant needs to kick the ball. They can adjust like the angle and stuff like that. And they need to try and score goals. In some cases, it's more a free kick than a penalty, like on this example, because you can have a wall, so an obstacle between the participant and the goalkeeper. And finally, we have added, just as of yesterday, a third advanced format that is called the swap and match. So what is the swap and match? It's a game that is similar to Bejeweled or Candy Crush. So it's a game in which participants need to search for matches being three elements that are the same on the grid. So in this example, it could be 3 strawberries or 3 bananas, and they need to align these items together by swapping 2 adjacent objects. And we will see that together in a live demo right now. So for the swap and match, if you want to start a new campaign in your account, as usual, you click on create a new campaign, and in the games category, you will find the new swap and match. Here, as with any other format, it's available in anonymous or identified campaign mode. And inside a swap and match campaign, everything happens in the game step. So once you get here, you can see there is a series of ready-to-use games. So these are really swap and match games that we have designed for you to use. You can see there are different ones here already. We will keep on adding more. But for this demo, let's say we are going with the gifts one. And you can really customize this game to fit your brand needs. The first thing that you see is that you can upload a background image. So this image is going to be used as the background on all the pages of the game. It's also in this section that you can manage like text styling. And something important, you see there are like sound related icons. It actually appears here in the game. That's because the participant can activate or deactivate the audio at will in the game. So by default, there will be some sound, but the participant can decide to mute the game. Then in the game modes tab, this is where you can set the time that participants have to search for as many matches as possible. So you can adjust the time here. You can also customize the icon for the time that you see here. Then we move on to the swap and match section. So this is really where you're going to configure the items of the game. So you see that the swap and match is a game that has the shape of a grid. This grid can be adjusted, so you can change, for example, the number of rows. Like if you want to have more, you just need to click refresh to see what it looks like. Number of columns as well. And then you can add the objects that make up the grid. And these are the items that the participant will have to match. We usually recommend 4 to 6 different objects. And for each object, you can decide how many points a match will bring. So for example, here we have the yellow gift. It's worth 1 point. So a match for 3. Yeah, what did I say?
It's not yellow, but it doesn't mind.
So as you can see, it's worth 1 point. So if I match 3, I have 3 points added to my score. There is also a possibility that's like a bit more advanced, but that could be a nice twist to add to the game. In here, it's a score multiplier. So here in the grid, what I did is to find matches of 3 objects, but it's also sometimes possible to have matches of 4, maybe 5 even. And so there is a possibility to decide that these extra objects that are matched are going to multiply the score of the participant. And then we can move on to the panels. So panels are like in-game interactive screens. They are very important because they give the participants advice or guidance on what they must do next. So you can see there are 3 different panels. We have like a tutorial one, we have a pause panel, and then we have a game over panel. And what is very cool to know for this, it's a new concept that we introduced in Qualifio, is that you can preview different parts of the game without having to play. So for example, you want to see what your tutorial panel will look like. You can select this, and here you see, okay, this is going to be my tutorial screen. Do I want to change something? Yes or no? Same thing for the game over. So you can change here, for example. Here you can just change the text, you refresh, and you directly see the changes on that specific screen. And finally, you can also add some sound effects to your game, just to enhance a little bit the experience. There is background music, but also some sounds for very specific and crucial moments of the game, like the start of the game, when the game is over, and when a match is made. So once you have decided all of this, you can save this game as a new game. You can give it a name. So for example, save it here, and it's done. So now I have my game that is attached to my campaign, which means, because I saved it, if I detach the game, I will find it back in my custom games that are here. So you still have all of the ready-to-use ones here, but you also have like your own library that you can start, and that you can also find back in the documents section in the advanced games. Here you will find everything that you have created. You will also find like the catcher and the penalty games in the same place. So
I think what's really important with this new feature is first that, as you mentioned, you will find at the same place the penalty, the catcher, here the swap and match, and you will really not be lost from one to another, because they are very similar in the way they've been built. So that if you want really to reproduce the same thing so that you are super fast and efficient when you are creating those games. Second thing is that what we really saw with the first customers who've been using those games, that it's really games which are a bit more engaging than the other usual Qualifio campaign, meaning that we see that there are participants who are spending minutes, sometimes tens of minutes on some games to catch most possible items and score the highest score. So that's really super engaging and spending a lot of time on your channels, maybe with your products falling from the screen, for instance.
Yes, thank you, Olivier. Now I want to go over the question of the availability of these games. So these games are available with an add-on to your subscription. So either it's already part of your subscription because you have a platinum subscription to Qualifio, or it's available as a paid add-on to your bronze, silver, or gold subscription. Now, if you are a silver or a gold customer, you actually already have access to the 3 formats that we saw together. And that is because Qualifio is offering you this access for free to thank you for your business and for your loyalty. Now, the vision that we have for this add-on is that we want to keep feeding it with new formats. Our ambition is to add 3 formats a year inside this add-on. But it means that in 2023, we are going to be adding more formats inside the add-on. And as a silver or a gold customer, you will not have access to them unless you decide, okay, I want to add the advanced format to my subscription. So if you need to discuss your options, don't hesitate. You can contact your CSM, you can contact our sports team. They will be more than happy to walk you through your options. Now, I was saying that we want to add more formats in the future, which means that we have a 3rd polling questions for you. We have not decided yet what our next advanced format will be. So we have a couple of ideas and we want to get your opinion on them. So some candidates that we have identified is the repeated game. You might know it already. You have to repeat like a sequence of images and sounds. It could be a running game. It could be a whack-a-mole type of game. It could be a slicing game, like a little bit like Fruit Ninja. That's what we have in mind. Or if you have another idea, don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. We are open to suggestions. And
it's time now, or in 2 months from now, you have another idea, please feel free to send it to the support or to your CSM, which will circle it back to us, of course. Right, quite a lot of people more on the running game, apparently. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's quite. The chat is closed. I don't know. All right. Just checking Europe. Where's my mouse? Let's see here. Okay. Thank you, Anna. All right. Now we're switching over to loyalty, and we wanted first to put a bit of light on one of our customers who's been using loyalty module. Well, who is currently using it. It's the FTBF, so Belgian French-speaking media broadcaster who has the rights on the FIFA World Cup. So they were organized with Qualifio Engage and Loyalty, the specific event on the World Cup. So there's a specific giveaway with some partners for TV and football shirts. And they've launched an exclusive program, which is actually being fed mainly by Engage format, meaning that you can subscribe to the portal, to the experience, the program, and you will be able to play, well, one new advanced format. It's a penalty shooter. You will be able to have other formats that really designed for the football community of the RTBF, matching the player with their country, matching the jersey with the country, some historical question over the World Cup, some pronostic over the team, which will be selected by Roberto Martinez, the head coach of Belgium. Hopefully we can do a bit more than 3, but we'll see that later today. And really all this to engage more on the football community on the RTBF. And what we really see is that they are really returning visitors and they are really coming back a lot. And actually, this action is also offering the RTBF an opportunity to go back to their audience very regularly throughout the World Cup for the new games, for those who are subscribed to the program, for instance, but also then to broadcast and to show their other services during this World Cup, the other games which are being played, or the football games which are being played today, etc. So that's really encouraging the users to stay connected and come regularly on the portal. And so this portal has been something that's been built fully from Qualifio, except for the single sign-on, which is the RTBF one, of course. So it's seamless experience, but it's engage for the format, loyalty for the portal, for the leaderboard, for all the logic of the point attribution behind it, and something that we were able to set up in just a couple of weeks with the RTBF mind behind it. Of course, it's their program here. And speaking of loyalty, what is the latest feature we have developed since we last spoke about loyalty?
So we have recently incorporated a new webhook integration for our loyalty module. It's important. Why? Because this connector allows you, like as a customer, so for example, the RTBF, to get data about the actions that the members take inside the program, and to send this data automatically to their external database. So it's very easy to set up. It's like the webhook in Engage. You can specify the webhook URL, and then you can manage what we call the push rules. So if you are an admin user with a data integration in Engage, you will be familiar with this type of interface. So the idea of the push rules is very simple. You select the program that is concerned. So it's the same thing as in Engage. You select, for example, a campaign, and then you tell us, okay, for this campaign, for this program, here is where the data needs to be pushed. In addition to that, here in the case of the loyalty webhook, it's very flexible, because you can subscribe to different types of events or updates. So, for example, an update like, okay, a member redeemed a reward in my program, or a member has been credited or debited in terms of points through the CRM. There is really like a series of updates, but it's very flexible, because you can decide for which events you want to be notified. And finally, it's very important because it really allows you to embed your loyalty program with your business processes. So you can use these event notifications to trigger different things in other tools, for example, transactional emails in your automation platform. All right.
So besides these three main blocks, which we have just presented, we've been working on other more a bit minor or less less viewable or visible, sorry, feature in the last couple of months. And here, three of them we would like to still put some light on for Engage. So it's now possible to assign specific value to answer or personality profiles. So in personality test, meaning that this is really used for integration. We just talked about the webhooks, for instance. You have a question which you will have in 2 languages, 3, 4 languages, and you don't want to use a label, because the label will change per language, but a specific value. This is possible now for each closed value, but also for the profile of a personality test. You can add an hidden field in the form to capture the IP address in plain IPv4. That is something that you can also use then afterwards in your integrations. And then finally, just before the World Cup, we changed slightly, the calculation on the team selector to make sure it was calculated per player, ensuring that we know that 97% of the participants selected Kylian Mbappé as player of the French team, for instance, and not per line for all the strikers, etc. So that's where some changes that occurred. And for loyalty?
On the loyalty module, we also introduced 3 features that we want to touch on today. The first one is a test mode. So it's really a set of features or tools that allow you to test your program before launch or before making like a big edit. For example, you can create a test member profile that will be able to interact with the program and do whatever you want to test the program without any of these actions being visible to other members. And then we have added 2 types of content that can go on your portal page. The first one is to display RSS feeds, and the second one is to be able to place your own HTML content directly on the page.
All right. Now, we've seen what we have done in the last couple of months. Let's see what's actually coming in the next few weeks and months. So the first item is about Engage on the opt-ins. So we are working on including the opt-ins in the global stats dashboard. So to have a global overview of the number of opt-in, of course, per category, meaning that it's not the same relevance for you to have a newsletter marketing opt-in than consent opt-in, rules opt-in, for instance. So these are really key information we want to outline globally, but also a more defined and specific opt-in dashboard to really see opt-in per opt-in, where in which campaign they've been most checked, which category, etc. All these available in one single dashboard.
Then we will be introducing a new partner integration. So I think we can all agree that email addresses are valuable pieces of data. It's probably one of your greatest assets as a marketer is to have your email list full of fresh, active, accurate email addresses. But when you are dealing with a lot of forms, a common struggle that we see is dummy or fake email addresses. So it could be participants who fill out a form with a random address. For example, they want to get something you're offering, but they don't want any other contact with you. Or it could be just an accident, like people make typos, people make syntax errors, cats walk on keyboards. I know mine does. But all of these cases have one thing in common, is they do not bring any value to your marketing, right? So this leads to issues like bouncing emails. It actually messes with your performance metrics, so you don't really know if your emails are effective or not. In short, it's just a waste of money, a waste of time, a waste of efforts. So if you ever need to verify the email addresses that are entered into your Qualifio forms, you will soon be able to do that thanks to an upcoming integration between Qualifio and DQE. So what this connector does is that it allows to automatically check the participant email addresses in your form and determine whether these emails are real or not. Optionally, it can also provide email address suggestions based on the first name and last name of the participant inside the form. What's very important here is that this connector, like most of our integrations, what it allows to do is to connect your Qualifio account with your DQE account. So obviously this requires you to have an external contract with DQE. But the point here is that email validation can really help you ensure that your email list can run optimally. It can help you improve deliverability rates and just make it to the inbox and be able to reach your potential customers. Yeah, I think that's my part on
yes.
DQE.
And of course, you can directly go to us, to your CSM, to our support, to put you in touch with DQE to know exactly all about the DQE and Qualifio integration, and we'll be more than happy to set it up for you and with you. Then on loyalty, what we are also working on is a Shopify integration. So of course, already today you can send to loyalty any of your e-commerce events. So if something happening on your e-commerce, you can send that event to loyalty. No question that that's already working, no problem. Yet we wanted to have a deeper integration with a provider such as Shopify to really integrate a specific widget within the experience, within the shop of Shopify, so that you can actually, while shopping, maybe see that you are entitled to have a 10% discount because you have enough points. Or when you make your purchase, you can directly see, okay, I've earned now 24 points, and what am I entitled to have with these 24 points? So really encourage the loyalty directly on your point of sales with Shopify in this case. And then last but not least that we want to show is a major change that you will see coming in the interface. We are going to change the navigation of our two modules, bringing also more in line the complementarity from one another. So the first very visible thing that you will see is that you will have a lateral navigation menu. So of course, that's a bit of change. And we've also restructure a bit the different options. We have not done that out of the blue. We've been talking with quite several of you in the past few weeks and months on this. And that's really not only a UI change, but we really are aiming at more efficiency when you are navigating through the interface. When you are in loyalty, to choose the right campaigns to reward. When you are in engage, to also interact with your items from your loyalty program, to easily integrate one campaign in your portal, in loyalty portal, but also maybe a set of 5-6 campaigns. And once a user has seen one, then it's not presented that one. And these kind of logics, which will really help showing the complementarity between engage and loyalty, and how we can strengthen the experience that you can provide to your customers.
Yeah, and I see in the chat that we have a customer who is very happy with the interface improvements that we are planning.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we sign off, I just want to tell you about a couple of resources for you to get more information and support related to everything that we've touched on today. You're going to get the slides and the recording of the webinar, and we've put links to our latest product updates, documentation, technical documentation, and also a link in case you want to get your personal loyalty demo. And of course, I think most of you know them. Our support team made up of Sydney and Noemi is ready to help. And that's all we've got for today. So now we will take some time for questions, if there are any. Just a reminder, pop them into the Q&A box on your screen. And yeah, I don't think we have extra questions today.
No, so far, not so far, no.
Okay. So it looks like we've covered everything. Just one last thing. We really care about your opinion. So we would want to ask you to fill out a very short survey that is going to come on your screen when you exit the session. Your feedback is very important. It's going to help us plan our upcoming webinars. And other than that, yeah, thank you everyone for joining. It was really a pleasure being with you today. We hope that you learned a lot. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye.